Good evening and welcome to Herndon Live. I'm Emily Yen. Later I will be joined by Jack Norcross, but on today's show expect a talk on meningitis with the Upreti sisters. These stories and more as Herndon Live gets underway. All right, and welcome back to Herndon Live. I'm Emily Yen once again. Soon we'll be joined by Jack Norcross and Mark Seaman, who will be doing a segment on Ebola. Ebola is, I'm pretty sure that they're going to get more into it. Also later on in the show, expect I'm going to be doing an interview with a psychologist. And anyway, let's go to Jack and Mark with Ebola.
All right, thanks so much, Emily, and I am joined once again by Mark, and we're talking about Ebola in America and what its real effect is, and if you should be worried, if anything. A lot of people use the Ebola as a term that is causing random things. For example, today during a fire drill, I know people said that was Ebola. Oh, yes,
and then there was another one couple weeks ago where the air conditioner turned off, the lights flickered, and then someone shouted Ebola.
Yeah, so I mean, people need to really understand what Ebola is and how it can be prevented and how you can get it. So we're going to talk about that today. I want to start with the definition of Ebola. Let's take a look at this. So here's the definition of Ebola. It is an infectious and generally fatal disease marked by fever and severe bleeding. It is spread through contact with the infected body fluids by flovirus, whose normal host species is unknown. So it's very strange, Mark. It's unusual. And a key part that people don't understand is that it didn't originate in America. This started in West Africa, in the main West African countries that it started in of Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. What do you have to say, Mark?
Well, for starters, Ebola has been around for quite a long time. It didn't originate in these cities, but it recently came over to these cities as early as, they say, December of last year or October of last year. And it's now just coming to these cities because these cities are not exactly like very high technologically advanced. And so ever since the disease has been reported in these countries, doctors and even troops are now being sent over to help contain it and to help cure it. But this disease is still relatively new to the world, and doctors are trying to figure out what is a vaccine that would work, or a cure even.
Right, and we've seen some Americans, which we'll talk about in a second, being treated, and they are now healthy and well. But so this is very interesting. So it's originated in Africa, but let's go ahead and take a look at this next slide here. We got, how does Ebola spread? And this is a misconception. A lot of people think it is through the air. It is not. It is blood or body fluids, including but not limited to urine, saliva, sweat, vomit, breast milk, and semen. Something that is that is happening that you cause. So bleeding is from your body, internal fluids, objects that have been contaminated with the virus, such as needles, and infected animals. And unfortunately in Spain,
there was a dog, the nurse that was hospitalized and diagnosed with Ebola. She had a dog, and unfortunately, because Ebola can spread to animals, even domesticated ones, the dog sadly had to be euthanized to ensure that
he had to put to sleep. I don't know about euthanized.
Euthanized is the same as putting it to sleep.
Okay, but Ebola, this is the misconception here. Ebola is not spread through the air or by water or in general by food. However, in Africa, Ebola may be spread as a result of handling bushmeat, such as wild animals and food. Mark, what do you have to think? What do you think? Do you think that it cannot spread through air? Do you think that's the biggest misconception?
That is the biggest misconception. And when I first heard of the disease, I thought it could also spread through air, and I assume, and that's pretty much you thought, But no, it will not be contained by the air. So wearing a mask over your nose and mouth, it really won't do anything. I mean, if you're not kissing somebody who has Ebola, etc. But it can only be spread through bodily fluids, and they're listed right there. And it's true that Ebola cannot also spread through water, food, or touching on contact. It's like saliva, etc. But the thing is that, all right.
Oh, okay. So whatever. So anyway, so we're talking about, but you can finish your point, Mark. Would you like to finish your point?
Yes. If say you have a glass of water with someone who has Ebola, it's true the water itself will not be infected, but there will be leftover saliva, which is again a big carrier of the disease.
So let's talk about some of the symptoms here, because some of these things that people are weakening, or that believe that they think that Ebola is, it's really not. So it's high fever greater than 101.5 Fahrenheit, a severe headache, muscle pain, weakness, diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and so bleeding as well, so internal bleeding. So obviously, Mark, it is not the air conditioning going out. Do you find this offensive, Mark, that people are kind of just throwing it around? Thousands of people have unfortunately died from the disease.
Yes. Well, I'd have to say that those people who've been throwing it around are dumb, honestly. But I do find it offensive because there are some people who have lost loved ones, who have lost entire families, and even themselves, a man who died in the United States a few days ago. We'll get to that later. Yes, I do find it.
All right.
rude.
Well, okay. Well, let's be patient here, because this video is going to take a second to load, I know. But Ebola is serious, and I want to show you this video. Here we go. We're looking at these crews because someone thought that it was funny to say, I have Ebola on a flight, on a U.S. Airways flight going from Philadelphia to Punta Cana, the Dominican Republic. And obviously, it wasn't known of anyone who had the disease in these areas. But obviously, airport officials took this very seriously. And as you can see in this video, we have crews in large suits so they wouldn't be contaminated by the disease. You'll see in 1 second this woman off to your left who is literally covering her nose. She doesn't understand, like we were just talking about, it is not spread through the air.
Yes,
you know?
but usually when it's like, I've talked with several people about this. What if you're on a plane who's someone who has Ebola? It's
Right.
true, again, you can't spread it through the air, but you're so scared and so afraid that if you catch it, because up to 90% of the people who catch this disease will die, and you become so scared and you'll do anything to cover yourself and to make sure you don't get it.
Right. Fortunately, this just wasn't a case of Ebola, but it was. I don't find it funny or anything, but I mean, it was just an incident. And Mark, that's how Thomas Eric Duncan came into the U.S. and he lied on different papers, saying that he never had Ebola. And we'll be getting to the Nobel Peace Prize in a second. But do you think that if he was still alive, let's say he did recover, do you think he should have been prosecuted for that?
Absolutely not, because, and I'll explain, when he was probably filling out those papers, the fact of Ebola is that if you catch Ebola from an animal or another person, and it takes several days for the disease to manifest, and if you are not showing the symptoms that we were just pointed out, the disease is not contagious. You will not get it. And so, he was probably getting on the plane from Liberia, London, Dulles, and then Dallas.
Brussels, by the way, Mark. Just
he went to Brussels. He probably was not symptomatic, which is a reason why he thought he didn't have Ebola. And even if he did recover, what would they prosecute him for? It's not like he was intentionally trying to bring the disease over to the country.
Right.
It was just an accident.
Good point, Mark. Thank you. And now let's talk about the Nobel Peace Prize winners for a quick second here. We have Malala and Kailash. And
Kailash, I think.
Kailash. And Malala, excuse me for my pronunciation, but Malala, I know that is her name. She was the person who was shot by the Taliban for promoting girls going to school in Pakistan. And she is now, she made a miraculous recovery, and she has been speaking all over the world about what she believes in. And also, she has even written her own book, I Am Malala. And she was supposed to win last year, Mark, but she didn't this year, which was good. Also, this man is stopping slavery, child slavery in India. He is also doing great work. I just thought that was very important to mention as well.
Very important.
Mark, thank you so much. I
Thank
now
you
want to
for
throw it
having me.
upstairs to Ridu with the weather for us live from outside. Ridu?
Hello, I'm Rita Freddy,
And I'm Casey Molina.
and we're here to give you weather.
Enjoy the weather.
Okay, so right now it's 59 degrees Celsius and degrees Fahrenheit with a little rain, light rain. So I think it's gonna rain in the night as well, a little rain.
Okay, and tonight it's at around 6 p.m. It looks like it's going to be 60 degrees with some light rain, dropping down at 58 degrees. I know it's about 59 right now, with some heavier rain coming our way. And then 10 p.m. later on tonight, it'll drop down about 68 degrees or 56 degrees.
Yeah, so at night we're not expecting any rain or anything.
Right.
So tomorrow, Saturday, is our parade, and we are expecting some rain in the parade as well. So from 8 to 9, it's 52 degrees and it's cloudy, and then it drops to 50 degrees from 10 to 11, and it's cloudy and rainy. And at noon to 1 p.m., it's 55 degrees with, it is cloudy.
Okay, so I'm getting the indication from Allie. We're having some technical difficulties. Yeah, so we're gonna share mics, but I don't know if you guys heard tonight's weather, but that's okay. I'm sure you can kind of glean what tonight's weather is. Yeah, it's cold right now, guys. So this weekend on Saturday, it's gonna be low 43 and a high of 61, but it looks like it's another rainy day. Unfortunate weather for our parade. Right?
Yeah, it is. Every year it rains, you know? It's like
Yeah.
it's like Christmas, it needs to snow. Like in homecoming parade, it needs to rain.
It always rains,
It
yeah.
always rains.
And then on Sunday, the low is going to be 50 and the high is going to be 61, partly cloudy. So, you know, a couple of the rainy days are going to pass by, but unfortunately for homecoming, we're going to get that,
Yeah.
rain.
Didn't today the bonfire got canceled because it was gonna
Yes.
rain, right?
Yeah, which
Yeah.
happens apparently most years.
Yeah, all
Right.
year. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, okay. Well,
So,
thanks for having me. Now over to what's our next segment? Suicide prevention with Emily and her special guest.
Hi, I'm Emily Yen. Today I'm joined by Dr. Kerman, a psychologist. Today we are going to be talking about suicide and its as you can see, its interaction with social media and how those two kind of play a role with each other. So it's very nice having you here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay, so as it says here, this is a look into suicide and how social media kind of promotes it or prevents it. And we're also going to talk about how seeing counselors or getting help, how you can do that. So next slide. Can I get a next slide? Tech room. All right, so basically I'm going to give you, there are 3 examples. We can just pull them up right now. 3 examples of real events after a suicide, people's reactions. So here we have teenager, talks about suicide, tweets about the problems in society, doesn't address the problems, and goes back to everyday life. Do you think that gossiping or this, does it change the way that we feel about suicide? Or
Well, social media is one main way that teens communicate today, so it's an important part of their lives. And as that is said, it's important to understand how it impacts it, as your question implies. In some instances, because it is social networking, people can be very supportive of other people in terms of, addressing their concerns, being worried about them, expressing positive support for them. And if there's a serious question of suicide, it can work in terms of being advantageous or disadvantageous. In case of disadvantageous, there was a case in the United Kingdom where over 1,000 friends on the social network read about this woman's distress, and unfortunately nobody responded in a positive manner. In some cases they mocked this individual, and it resulted in a death. On a more positive note, there was another situation in South Africa where a young pregnant mother recorded her distress on Twitter, and her Twitter friends contacted each other, They eventually were able to track her down. She was able to get assistance, and the problem was resolved, or they were able to get her through that crisis.
That's amazing. That's really nice to hear. Also here we can see how we have hashtags, we have moral support. These are ways that social medias can support and unify people after a suicide or when someone is, as you said, distressed. Also, some people say that if these social medias didn't exist, a lot of these problems wouldn't occur, especially because it's been very frequent in this community. We've all felt a lot of loss, and a lot of people blame social media.
Well, one, so to speak, blaming is something that occurs, face to face in terms of bullying, but with social media, it can happen much more quickly with cyberbullying. And cyberbullying is an environmental stress factor that can contribute to somebody who is already at risk in other ways and place them more at risk. Most importantly, if somebody responds with thoughts of wanting to kill themselves or harm themselves in a serious manner, then that's something that needs to be taken seriously. And there's used to be a myth about it that people who talked about it were not at risk. That's totally untrue. People who talk about it are at risk, and that needs to be addressed. So if you contact somebody on social media, you see they're having this kind of voicing these thoughts, the solution is to, if you know who they are, to talk with them directly, try and refer them to teachers, people in school, guidance counselors, or mental health professionals, and touch base with their parents to let them know this situation is going on, and they can get assistance that they need. It's very important.
Now, how common is suicides in teens?
Suicide is the third leading cause of death in 15 to 24-year-olds, followed only by homicides and accidents.
Okay, and if we can take a look at the next slide. Here we have some what you call risk factors. We have academic and social factors that lead to suicides. What do you think about these?
Well, those are important to be aware of, that somebody, who is at risk. Some of the most important things in terms of risk, though, are also, number one is a history of mental health disorders, particularly depression. Another major risk factor is alcohol or substance abuse. That's another major risk factor. And then some of these other issues can be things that are environmental stressors that will make that worse and compound it for somebody who's already somewhat at risk. History of family suicide, history of physical or sexual abuse can all be other factors that are concerns or warning signs.
And now these factors, they can be bullying, peer pressure, schoolwork, homework, family situations. So anything can really sort of trigger these events.
Well, it can make somebody more susceptible to it, and particularly other issues of sexual orientation as somebody goes through that. Social isolation is a big warning sign in terms of, somebody who's withdrawing. You have to be concerned about somebody who's giving away their most prized possessions. Take my favorite stuffed animal, take my favorite piece of clothing, which they would part with under no circumstances. They're giving these items away, maybe even emptying out their whole room. And those are real big red flags that they need some help and assistance.
Yes, and so I see you talked about the signals, how you can identify people who are possibly thinking about suicide. What are some other things that you can identify from?
Well, some other things you need to be very concerned about is when somebody becomes very despondent, they're very sad about things. Hopelessness, they're concerned, they're not able to project themselves in the future. What do you want to do where do you want to go to college? What do you want to do after high school? What do you want to do next week? They really can't relate to those things because they're not planning on being around. And so those are real important signs to be aware of. There's a lot of things that can stress people out in today's environment. Interpersonal relationships or loss of those are a very big issue. Parental divorce. Major issues for teens is loss of a boyfriend or girlfriend, or somebody moving out of state who is their childhood friend since they were an infant. Those are important losses that can make somebody much more vulnerable.
And I've seen, what I've heard actually from my generation is people are starting to get the idea that depression is becoming a trend. It's almost cool to be, not cool, but it's very popular to be depressed. I don't know. Some people do this for attention. What do you think about that? This trend in like depression and.
Excellent question. It's not something that they would do just to be cool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the reality is that there's a high incidence of depression. That there is a lot of depression takes place in teens who are vulnerable to it. Some of it's environmental factors that may make things worse, as we've talked about already.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's also a genetic predisposition based on the family history of depression. And so the reality is these are people who are in distress, these teens, they're experiencing things that are upsetting to them, and it's very real and needs to be treated as such. And the good news about suicide, it is preventable. With proper intervention and therapeutic assistance and support of family and friends, it's something someone can get over. Another important aspect of that is usually these experiences and these thoughts of wanting to harm themselves is time limited. So it's really important when somebody's in crisis to get them through the crisis to the other side of that. Mm-hmm. One problem is that teens, because of their neurological development, have difficulty projecting themselves into the future. My boyfriend just broke up with me. I don't see it ever getting any better. But the reality is, it will get better. There are more fish in the sea.
Yes.
And so it's important to let teens know that, you can get beyond this. And it's important for parents to know when dealing with teens to express that, I've had times when I've been sad, mm-hmm. and disclose that to them. And if somebody's really making some serious threats of suicide, or you don't need to evaluate the seriousness of it. If somebody's making comments about wanting to harm themselves, they need to seek help or an evaluation from a mental health professional. And it needs to be treated very seriously. It's not something to make fun of in social media or personally. It's a really serious matter.
Yes, and as you said, communication is definitely key when it comes to seeing these factors. Talk to someone. What's also common in our generation, which is kind of blocked. Here we have some more quotes from social media that sort of lead into people's ideas of how to the solutions towards these. I would definitely favorite your inspirational tweet. But I was remembering yesterday you were bullying a kid. So this sort of on social media, this relates to hypocrites. Down here it says, I joke with people at school. Is that considered bullying? What do you have to say to people like this? Like in our generation, it's very common to make fun of people. Is that considered bullying, do you think?
Well, joking can be in good fun, but you have to be careful of people's vulnerabilities, okay? Mm-hmm. If everybody's kind of picking on the kid who's very isolated, that's not fun.
Yeah.
That's bullying, mm-hmm. And that's harassment. And so that really is very negative and deleterious or harmful to the other person. If it's your best friend and you're joking around with them, then there's broader limits. But even then, if you pick their Achilles heel where they're very weak and vulnerable, again, that's not being respectful, that's not being helpful.
All right.
It can go out beyond the boundaries of normal joking.
And if we can just get the next slide, we have a hotline that you can call if you know someone who you believe is showing signs of suicide or suicidal thought, so you can look at that for just a moment. But what do you think, well, students, they usually don't believe that seeing a counselor will do any good. What do you have to say to those students?
Well, sometimes there's some stigma associated with it, but I think what's important to understand is it can be very helpful. Okay, the good news is we know more about treating depression, more about treating suicide today than we did 20, 30 years ago, and our techniques have improved. And so it can be very helpful. In fact, it can be life-saving, and that's what's really important to know. And it's important that parents and friends support the individual getting into treatment, getting this assistance they need, and you can have positive outcomes in that case.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kerman.
Thank you so much for having me.
So helpful getting all this input from you. It's definitely given me a lot of insight on the whole topic. Next, we have, we're doing a segment with Mridu and Laja on diseases, specifically meningitis. So let's cut to that.
All right, thank you so much, Emily and Dr. Kerman, once again. We are on standby right now for Elijah and Maridu with their health segment this week is about meningitis. So we'll be getting that in 1 second. That will be followed by sports with Raleigh, and he will be in studio as well, and will discuss the upset of the Nationals, which is just completely horrifying and depressing, if you ask me, which will be good. Well, also coming up a little bit later on the show, Casey will join us, and she'll talk about her experience building the class of 2015 float. We'll also give you a look at the parade route as well, which is why we are outside here today. We are right there as the big turning point where they come down and start heading down Lynn Street, so that'll be very exciting. And Emily and I will be there tomorrow announcing each of the floats, which will be very exciting. 50 floats will be there tomorrow, and it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully it doesn't rain too much. Unfortunately, the bonfire got canceled tonight, but hopefully things will turn around for tomorrow. We are expecting about 50% a chance of rain, as you heard with Laja and Casey's health segment. We'll be going, once again, we'll be going to Laja and Mridu very shortly, followed by Raleigh. And I'm getting word now that we are ready with Laja and Mridu, who are downstairs live in the studio. Laja and Mridu.
Hello, I'm Laja Preddy.
And I'm Ritu Preddy.
And we're here to discuss about meningitis. So first of all, let's give you the definition of meningitis. Meningitis is an inflammation of the membrane surrounding your brain and your spinal cord. So and basically, inflammation, it means the swelling of the membranes.
Mm-hmm. So approximately 1,000 people in the U.S. have this disease, and which includes the meningitis and the septicemia, which is the blood infection.
So it is pretty common kind of disease that happens and occurs a lot.
So it can be a viral infection, but bacterial. There can be bacterial and fungal infection.
And also fungal, yeah.
Yeah, for infection for this.
So there are a lot of side effects of this disease, like you'll get general poor feeling.
Sudden high fever they will experience this as well.
And headaches.
Neck stiffness.
Or nausea and vomiting.
Discomfort in bright lights.
And also laziness, so difficulty to wake up and drowsiness.
Mm-hmm. And also they also experience joint pain.
Yeah, so there are a lot of side effects.
There are a lot of side effects, but some of these are so common to other,
so it might get confusing about.
Yeah.
So if any of these side effects occur to you, so you have to go immediately to the hospital. You have to be cured right away.
Because this is a very, very dangerous disease, and it can kill you because it's swelling of your membrane, which is very, very dangerous.
And also the treatment has to be in the ICU, intensive care unit.
So the cure for this would be antibiotics, since for bacterial, because bacteria can be only treated by antibiotics. And then this can be given through a vein in your arm, so probably a shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, and at the same time, you may also be given oxygen because you need oxygen
and also fluids, because your body will be losing a lot of water and you need to be hydrated.
And also steroids or other medicine to help you reduce the swelling in your brain.
So even if you have to survive meningitis, if you go through it, there are a lot of effects that will occur after you're cured. It's loss of hearing, kidney failure.
Because we do have our relatives, they did go through this meningitis, and their brain they do damage a lot of.
And also I think psychological problems occur after that too.
Yeah, it's hard for you to do certain things or to study it's concentration, because it kills your brain cells. So it is a very it's not really rare. It's not common either, I guess, but it is a very dangerous disease.
But I think the bacterial one, that's the rare one that only happens sometimes.
Viral, yeah, that's right. So that's it for meningitis, everyone.
Now we have Raleigh with sports.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. First, we have a lot of big news involving the Nationals. Well, it's not exactly happy news, though. Recently, they have been in a pretty big slump against, they just had a big match against the Giants, series of matches actually, and they lost 3 of their 4 last games. So yeah, that's pretty disappointing, but there's some good news involved in that they are in the playoffs. They are the best in their division, I think by far, They did lose, yes, but still they have clinched a playoff spot. They do have a playoff berth. They do have a very, very strong chance of going far in the playoffs. And sadly, in the last few games against the Giants, we had a slugger, Zimmerman, who was not in. He wasn't played that much. One wonders what that was about, maybe a coaching error or something like that. And that very well may have contributed to some of the losses of the Giants. I'm sorry, the Nationals. And now, speaking of football teams, which I wasn't, we have the Washington Redskins. Not so good news. They haven't been doing very well so far this season. I'm sure you've heard they're 1-4. The last 2 games, especially that they played, have been really tough. Week 4 was against the Giants, my team, and James's team, floor manager, and they won 45-14. It was kind of a one-sided game from the beginning. No real comment there. They also lost against the Seahawks just a few days ago during Week 5, 27-17. That was a pretty hard fought-out game. It was kind of disappointing for the Redskins the way it ended. It wasn't exactly fair and stuff. This also kind of sheds light on the Redskins' new coach. Obviously, it's not exactly the way you would want it to turn out, but, it's a new coach. They just need periods to get adjusted to the team, and who knows, they may turn this season around completely and finish off strong. Now, the home teams, the Herndon teams, a lot of awesome news in the football department. JV football crushed Edison just a few days ago, 53-0. It was an awesome game. The JV team is doing very well this season along the freshman team. Varsity football, they beat McLean 51-35. Again, beating McLean, that's a pretty nice thing for them. So, yeah, good job for them. The varsity football team also, I don't believe I announced this last sports segment I had, but they beat them 49-0. There were some South Lakes quarterbacks and ranks, first and second string quarterbacks that were out, but still, that should not have accounted for how we just utterly demolished South Lakes. That is an awesome win for Herndon and an awesome win for the high school spirit. And on the 1st of this month of October, Junior Varsity again beat McLean 56-7. So just domination all around from the football team. They're doing really well this season, and we're really looking forward to how they're going to finish off. Hopefully, and they are doing better than the Redskins, and hopefully they will both, up their game and finish off with a very strong season. And now I believe we have a segment involved in the Maze Runner, so I believe we will cut to that.
Hi, I'm Ali Castre.
And I'm Elisa Sage.
And we saw Maze Runner, a very interesting film in many different ways.
Yeah, so the main character was Thomas, played by Dylan O'Brien. He, like most of the other characters, was kind of flat.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you a basic idea, all of them were thrown into this maze with no idea who they were, where they came from. They just sort of knew their first name. So, from a writer's standpoint, it's hard to develop a character if they themselves don't really know who they are.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, this actor didn't exactly do a bad job. He was okay. He just didn't have that much to work with. Yeah. So the basic premise is this character Thomas wakes up in the middle of this clearing that's apparently in the middle of the maze, and it has about I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 other boys there who have been there for 3 years, and they don't know why they're in this maze, and they're just surviving off this little community there. And then there are a couple of people who are maze runners who go through the maze to try to map it out and find a way out. And inside the maze are these things called grievers, I think.
Yeah, they were little robot-y, bugs, almost like scorpions.
Well, they were pretty big. They were not
Yeah.
little robot bugs. They were
they were bigger than people.
Yeah.
But they were almost scorpion-like because they would shoot this venom in you that made you crazy. And they had that tail sort of thing.
So the monsters in the movie were pretty good. I haven't read the book, but I heard compared to how they were described in the book, they sounded like they were portrayed pretty well in the movie. Like they were like, I mean, I'm not scared easily, but like they were pretty scary if you're like easily like
I wasn't
frightened.
scared either. I mean, yeah, I guess if maybe like you were 12, you'd
Yeah,
be scared
maybe.
of it. Yeah, that was like the main basic idea. Like the effects were good after like 45, 30 minutes into the movie, but the first 30 minutes of the movie you could easily miss and not be disappointed because the first 30 minutes were really boring.
Yeah, basically for a lot of the movie they were just kind of hanging out in the clearing in the middle of the maze, doing boy stuff, like fighting with each other.
And wrestling.
And wrestling.
Maybe it's fun if you're actually doing it, but just watching
Just a lot of
it's
testosterone.
Yeah, I was just like, okay.
So that part wasn't the best. There were a lot of like slow parts in the movie, I guess. This one character named Albie, played by Amel Amin, I think I'm saying that right. He did a pretty good job. He was like the first person to wake up in the maze, so he was like the leader. I think he did a good job, especially when he got like poisoned by those monster things.
Yeah, I thought he had a great performance. That was like the only like, man, this guy's a professional.
Yeah. And a couple other notable actors in the movie were the youngest, I think, is Blake Cooper. He was this character Chuck. This I guess he was like maybe 12 or something in the movie.
Yeah,
or maybe even younger. He was a likable character. I heard in the book his character was kind of annoying, but in the movie he was good.
Yeah, like in the movie he's like the little brother that you want, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you're just adorable. Let me just take you under my wing.
Yeah.
Let's go do stuff.
I guess.
I don't know, that's how I would describe him. And he was like funny, he was like the only funny element of the whole movie.
And then Thomas Sangster was a character named Newt, and he does the voice of Ferb in Phineas and Ferb, so he was one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was disappointing to find out that he doesn't have green hair in real life.
And like wear purple pants.
Up to like his
Yeah.
chest. I never understood that.
And then Patricia Clarkson played the main antagonist. And I mean, she didn't really have too big of a role, really. She was just in like the ending mostly. The ending, which was really, I guess, where the most of the action was.
Yeah, everything came full circle and it all sort of made sense. And it was the most entertaining part, but I thought it was overdone.
Right. I guess like I had a hard time taking the movie seriously in some
end,
parts
yeah.
that were supposed to be dramatic. So yeah, I think the set design was pretty good. You know, like the clearing they all live in. It's, you know, like it's pretty nature. It has some goats.
Lots
They
of
sleep in,
foliage.
yeah, cool little bungalows. The maze itself is pretty nice looking. It's I don't know.
I mean, there obviously was a lot of automatic stuff that went into it. Definitely a lot of it was green screen.
Yeah, and CGI, but I'm just talking about like the general like design.
Yeah, it was
maze.
cool.
It was like kind of like industrial steampunk. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not really steampunk, but like.
Yeah, none of their outfits were like cool. Like I was
Yeah.
like, I want to dress like that. But that was really it. Like I wouldn't go see that movie again.
No,
If someone asked me, I'd be like, dude, let's save our money.
A lot of it is, you know, if you like, just like typical like Hollywood movies. I mean, I think overall my opinion is like, you know, it was nothing special. Like the music was like, it fit in well with the movie, but it wasn't like a good soundtrack per se. Like I wouldn't want to get it on my iPod. The cinematography, you know, like it was fine, but they just like didn't go above and beyond. Like there weren't any cool like cutscenes or anything that was just like, oh wow, how did they film that? So like overall, I don't know if I really liked it that much.
Yeah, I would not. If you want to see it, I would rent it. Like honestly,
Yeah.
like, and Yeah, because honestly, halfway through it, I was like, I sort of just want to get up because I'm bored. Not that it was like bad seeing it, but like it was, I don't know. That was basically it. I guess that's all that I have to say.
If you want to see boys fight each other, be like angsty teenage boys, then watch that movie. That's just, that's the movie for you.
All right, well, we're
All
back
right.
here. Anyway, thank you so much to Allie and Elise. And in a couple of weeks, you'll be seeing Mark Seaman's review of the book. So that should be interesting, so we can get two different sides and perspectives.
Oh, and while we're on the movie topic, real quick, recently I saw a pre-screening of the movie St. Vincent. It's not in theaters yet, I believe, but an amazing movie. Bill Murray is absolutely genius. That I just think it's a beautifully written film. Definitely a must-see. 2 thumbs up. Great film.
Good.
Definitely see it once it's in theaters.
Stop swinging the mic around.
All right, well, that sounds good. Well, our next topic here is what we've been mentioning, the reason we're outside, and I'll tell you, my crew, not too happy about doing all this, but guess what? I think it paid off, and it's great. And right now, as you can see behind us, and you might have been hearing some of the cars go by during some of our live shots, and right now along Eldon and then along Lynn, this will all be a part of the
Homecoming.
Homecoming parade. We'll get to that in a second. But Casey, I know you had a big part in the building of the 2015 float. Want to just kind of talk about that? I know you have some
Class
pictures.
Float, the biggest deal in all the homecoming parade. Am I right?
Yeah. So I helped work on the senior homecoming float. I mean, basically, well, this year it was kind of a different perspective for me because I was on student council, and so I was also involved in like the planning and like doing the blueprints. So we kind of had a set idea for what we wanted to do, and I can just say that watching that idea come together, like from the paper to an actual float, was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
So I don't want to like divulge too much because I want you guys to be surprised about what you see on the float. But I think we definitely incorporated a lot of the really good aspects of like carnival theme into it. Actually, I'm just going to share one thing that we did.
Okay.
So we have,
Let's take a look at some of the pictures, too.
Yeah,
That'd
okay.
be good.
Yeah.
I had a PowerPoint.
So one of the things that we did was we have cotton candy, and we're gonna fill a container full of like actual cotton candy. And
What?
I just know if I ride the float tomorrow, I'm gonna be eating it the entire time.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, and we're having real popcorn made. We have these giant
On the float.
bins. Yeah, we have these giant bins of popcorn, and we're actually gonna fill them with popcorn. So I'm so excited because I'm ready for tomorrow.
Good.
So,
All right, so let's take a look at some of these pictures here. So we have, okay, so we see 2015, so that looks like a premise. Look at Casey. That's Casey right
Oh, yeah,
there.
that's me.
Making,
Drawing the
she's
Hornet.
coloring in the Hornet.
Yep.
I was asked her if she made that, but she said no.
I
would have been
colored it
impressed.
very well.
Okay, and what are we doing on the top left here, Casey?
Right, so that's Jessie Blidestone, and her mom runs float building every year. She's done it for her sisters,
Oh, wow.
and she's done it for her for every single year of her high school career. And so that's Jessie. It looks like she's painting. I'm not sure what that is. I think we had a lot of like just decorations that are going to go on the actual float, and it looks like that's what she was painting. But we did a lot of.
All right, let's take a look at some other, because I know you have some more pictures
Yeah,
Yeah.
that are exciting. And if we look at these pictures right here, we'll see that. And we're
Next
waiting.
slide.
Yeah, it should be next slide.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we look like, we're kind of, I see some structures. Looks like a little
Right.
carnival tent
Right,
there.
yeah. So if you look in the top left-hand corner, they're working on, we have this strongman sign, those games in the carnival where you hit it. Yeah, they're working on that. So it's like a cardboard sign that spells out class of 2015. And you're actually able to hit it with a real hammer, and it like flies up.
How
So,
cool.
yeah.
What?
Unfortunately, it makes a really annoying sound, so if I have to hear that the entire time, I'm going to get annoyed. But
It looks like you have a
cool.
very well-functioning carnival float. Like,
too. And we have a really like good group of people that put it together.
And I
for
think
us.
there's one more, too. Is there one more?
Yeah, there's one more slide. But if you look down, in the past slide, if you look down those boxes in the corner, that's the popcorn stuff.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I was seeing the popcorn.
Yeah, that's the
All right,
popcorn
anyway, so
stuff.
with this next one, we see, all right, there's Casey. She looks surprised.
Oh yeah.
Revealing too much. So
And
what are
the
they doing
model.
don't reveal too much. What are they doing on the far right there?
The far right. That again, that's the mounting the strongman sign that they were cutting
Okay,
up
so
earlier.
strongman seems like a key point here. Should we be looking at that part? for the carnival?
I don't think it'll be one of the most interesting. I think it'll definitely be a fun attraction to see. But like I said, I don't want to divulge too much, but there's a lot of stuff that I think you guys are going to enjoy. We have a very interactive float. We have one more thing. This is probably like my favorite thing, but
Revealing too much.
Yeah, it's called the Hornet Go Round. So
I'm already excited to see
So
it.
you guys will see it. I won't talk about it, but yeah, that's what it's called. So you guys are gonna get a look at that.
So, what about people? Are people going to be dressing up as characters
how
for the
does that all
float?
work?
Yeah, we have a couple people. We have, what is it? It's a kind of fortune teller booth thing on our float. So we have one person who's going to dress up as a gypsy. And and I think we have someone who's going to dress up as a clown. This is very tough for me because like I don't enjoy clowns.
Oh gosh,
I'm
same.
not scared of
You
them,
and me
but I
both.
just like
So you're trying to scare children, Casey, during this whole thing?
I'm not trying to scare anybody. But like some people don't like clowns. And I'm one of them. But other than that, I don't think we're gonna have too much dressing up. We're gonna wear like regular clothes. It's a carnival, so you know.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. 2015, seniors always surprise me every year.
And they
Okay,
always
go
take
all
home the win. but-
Emily, we need to be strong for 2017 too.
2017.
Important
Yeah.
thing. All right, well, let's move on to. We're going to show you. Let's take a look at the parade map right now because this parade is a little confusing. We want to make sure we explain it to you. So all the
Awesome visuals, Jack.
Thank
was
you.
cool.
Anyway, all the parade trucks will be lining up on Sterling Road as you see here. This is what we're looking at for the starting right there. We'll go up Sterling Road and we'll make a right. So as you can see, we're going to follow the red line as you see here. Let's take a look at the next one here. We're going to take a look at a more larger view, and we're going to see. I think you have to hit it again. Control room. There we go. Okay, and then what we're going to see here is we're going to see it goes all the way across Eldon Street, and we stop over here at. We have this large view of the Eldon Street, and right now. This is the big hook in the road, and they'll be coming down to what is right behind us here on Lynn Street, and we'll be making a right. As you can see, if you actually look at this visual right here, if you look dead center, that's basically where we are. You'd be looking at our backs. But they'll be making a sharp left here and going down Lynn Road, as you can see on the right there. And so that'll be very exciting. And then let's take a look, and let's show you. I'm going to show you where the judges panel is. So let's go ahead and take a look at the where the judges panel is.
Yes, and the judges panel is also where Jack, you and I are going to be located.
Yes, we are, and you can definitely find us there. All right, there we go. And anyway, so as we look at the judges panel will be located on the left side of the road. They will be stopped. The different floats will be stopping here to present their floats, and maybe they'll have I know theater is performing, so they might do a small scene from whatever, or and there might be there's the elementary schools, dances,
the cheerleaders,
the band, everyone,
Girl Scouts,
everyone,
Yeah, everyone's involved.
coming down, and then the parade ends right at the end of I believe. Oh gosh, now I have to know the street names. Lynn and wait, there's a sign over there. Does the sign say anything? Station, yes, I think that's Station. That's so that'll be Station and Lynn where the parade ends. So and for those of you who are concerned about traffic as well, Eldon Street will be closed off, and the parade starts tomorrow at 9:30.
Very good information to know. Eldon Street will be canceled.
Yeah.
Will be closed.
Yeah, I just remember I had to walk last year to our spot, and I didn't know that. So my dad had to drop me off in the middle of the road, and I had to walk.
Yeah, so make sure you account for you take in account where to park, because all the parking that you see behind us today, sorry, you don't see that behind us, but all the parking over here, all those cars will be moved. That area will be closed off. Cars will be towed if they are parked there this evening. But I mean, it should be fun and festive.
And also, as I mentioned earlier, by the judges panel, Jack and I will be there. We'll be announcing at the homecoming parade. Very exciting for us both.
Yes. And we'll be seeing Casey. You'll be on the float tomorrow,
I will
right?
be on the float, yeah.
On the float. We'll give her a shout.
Allie will be on. Will be part of Peter Pan's float, and we'll have
From the Herndon High School Drama Department.
Just kidding. They don't have a float. They're just walking. I'm just getting word of that. Okay. And then another thing is HCTV will be there as well, and they'll have cameras scattered. So make sure you wave to the camera. Just kidding. people hate that when you do that.
But really, just you can't miss it. We're gonna have all aspects of Herndon joining this one parade. You're gonna see all walks of life from elementary school kids. We're gonna see Clearview, Drainesville, Herndon. They're all gonna have their own floats, and then you're also gonna see lots of high school programs having their own floats here.
Good. And okay, and we thank you so much, Casey. But we want you to stay with us. We have a new segment this week, and it's called Eye Opener. Okay, if you hate the name, then we'll change it.
Moments.
I think it's eye-opening moments, and I found this one really interesting. Let's take a look at this girl right here. She is our feature eye opener this week. Her name is Iris Grace Halmshaw, and she's a 5-year-old girl with autism who paints impression paintings that are unique and one of a kind, and the money that she makes goes to her savings account and has already helped her with her speech issue. It's really great. And let's take a look. I want to take a look at some of her artwork because it's really impressive, if you ask me, when we see in the next slide here. The artwork is pretty impressive. This is a 5-year-old, you have to remember. And I definitely couldn't do that on 14.
Hey, but I gotta ask, is there a relationship between this girl and a rescue cat? Is that, I believe?
The cat is a therapy cat.
Therapy cat,
actually.
yes.
And the cat has helped her through her times, and it's been quite moving and inspirational what the cat has done. And it's really helped her, apparently, through her things. And we know that a lot of you are interested, and I know you want to see more of the artwork. So if you look at the next slide here, we'll see, you can go ahead on over to irisgracepainting.com.
And these sell for thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and you can get originals, and you can also get reprints of the papers, which is very exciting.
Very eye-opening.
Eye-opening, our eye-opening moment of the week. Besides all the negative news out in the world, we want to definitely share something that is positive.
Yes. So next show, 2 weeks from now, is going to be our Halloween-themed show.
That's right. We'll be wearing costumes.
Lots of fun. I'm a huge fan of Halloween. So
hopefully it will be great and very exciting as well. All right. Well, that looks like all the time we have for today. I'm Jack Norcross.
I'm Emily N.
And I'm Casey Molina.
Good. And we hope to see you right back here in 2 weeks. And we hope to see you tomorrow at the Homecoming Parade, where we are live from tonight. And remember to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and head on over to HerndonLive.com. And we hope you have a great weekend. Have fun at Homecoming, which is the main event.
Homecoming
Football, 1:30 p.m. on Saturday.
Stay safe. Don't drink and drive.
No drink and drive. Watch our PSA announcement on HCTV.
Yeah,
no underage drinking.
No drinking. Period.
It's bad. And we'll see you next time. And we are reporting live tonight from downtown Herndon. Good night.